Welcome to the Under Construction Podcast with me, Martin Williams. Here we talk about how to build or rebuild your life one step at a time. Let's get to work. And welcome to the Under Construction Podcast. My name is Martin Williams. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You may do so on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Soundcloud. All the links to the podcast can be found at guidedexpressions.com/podcast with an S. Today, the title of this podcast is Speak It Into Existence. Okay? So, what you say about your life is more important than what others say about your life. God has made all of us prophets. Now, you might say, well, I don't even go to church, so how can I be a prophet, right? Well, it's got nothing to do with church. It has everything to do with how you were created. God created all of us to be speakers of our destiny, whatever that is, and to speak what we want to do in the world into existence. And a lot of people don't realize that they have this power. You have the power to prophesy your own life. And what some people do, instead of using this power in a positive way, they usually use it as a negative, right? They usually use this power in a negative manner. People always speak sickness over their life. You know, they say that they're catching a cold. How do you catch a cold, right? But, you know, the more you say it, sure enough, they end up being sick. Or they say, I'm getting tired, right? Well, you may be feeling a little bit of fatigue, but the more you say it, the body starts to create the feeling and then ultimately the biology of being tired. You have less energy, you have less drive, what have you, right? And so many people just don't realize what they're doing when they say negative things. There's a book that I'm reading, or listening to actually. It's called It Takes What It Takes, and it's written by Trevor Moawad, who is a mental specialist, a mental coach, basically a mindset coach. And his resume is pretty impressive. He's worked with a lot of professional teams, college teams, Fortune 500 CEOs, millionaire entrepreneurs, the like. And his star client, I should say, is Russell Wilson, the NFL quarterback, who is one of the best quarterbacks in the game, will almost certainly be a Hall of Famer. He's won Super Bowl. He's won an MVP. So, he's done a lot. And Moad has been with him for most of that journey. So he says that his main thing is to get people to stop saying negative stuff. Now, he doesn't use that terminology, but we're going to keep it PG on this podcast, right? So his main thing is to get people to stop saying negative stuff, negative things, which to me is fascinating because, number one, he's 100% right. But number two, this is nothing new, right? You can go all the way back to the Bible, where the Bible says that you are snared by the words of your mouth, right? So that particular verse is saying, whatever you're speaking out into the atmosphere, you're captured by it, you're snared by it. So if you're speaking sickness, you're captured by sickness. If you're speaking poverty, you're captured by poverty, right? If you're speaking unhappiness, you're captured by unhappiness. But if you're speaking health, you're captured by health. If you're speaking prosperity, you're captured by prosperity. If you're speaking great relationship, you're captured by a great relationship. So it's very important that you speak that which you want to see in the world, all right? And more specifically, what you want to see in your world. It's very important that you speak that. Now, there are a lot of other pieces to that, right? It's not just speaking, but it's also, doing, it's also planning, it's also, rearranging your mind, all of these things. But it is important, and it's something that you can absolutely do no matter where you are, no matter what, station of life you're at right now. If you don't have a lot of money, if you don't have a lot of opportunity, or so it seems, if you're struggling in any way, you can still speak something better. You can still say something better, right? So many things that I've seen in my life, so many things that I've experienced in my life, I started saying it before I saw it, right? So I said, I wanted a new car, right? My car was just breaking down. You could smell the exhaust in the car. It was just time for me to move on from that car. I had to. But, it was tough for a little while, right? Because I was just kind of battling some things. But I just started speaking, and I said, I'm going to get a new car. I'm going to get a new car, right? And within a couple weeks, just one door after another opened, and I was able to get a new car. There's been times when I wanted to take trips, and I didn't have any money to take a trip, right? I didn't have any money for a plane ticket or anything like that. But I would just say, I'm going to go to this place. I'm going to go. I remember I took a trip to Miami for like 3-4 days, and I stayed in this Airbnb, which was, it was this family and whatnot. And, it's kind of weird because it was this full family that lived in the Airbnb, but they had these open bedrooms that they were Airbnb and being out. And they were nice enough, they were okay. It wasn't a problem or anything like that. The place was clean. I enjoyed it, right? Because the thing is that it wasn't where I traveled from, right? It wasn't, it wasn't work. I wasn't doing anything crazy. It's like I just had 3-4 days to enjoy Miami, right? And my point is, I had to speak that into existence, right? Whatever I've really been able to accomplish, I spoke it into existence. I spoke it first, and that's an important step, right? There's no reason for you to suffer in silence. If there's something that you want, if there's something that you really want to see and really want to do, start speaking it. Start saying it, right? Speak it out into the atmosphere. And not only that, you're not only speaking it out into the atmosphere, you're speaking it into your own mind and your own body, right? So you start saying it. So for example, let's say you want to pay off a loan or pay off a credit card or something, and it's way more than what you have in the bank. It's way more than what you're making right now. So what you do is that you say, I paid off this credit card, right? And I paid it off by such and such date, okay? Now, at first, what's going to happen, there's two ways to do this. At first, what's going to happen is that your mind is going to kick that out, right? Because the mind is basically processing it and saying, no. That credit card bill is right over there, and you owe, $2,400 or $3,000 or whatever you owe, right? So what you do say, instead of that, you say, okay, I am paying this off. I'm paying this credit card off, and I'll be done in, say, put it out 6 months from now, right? But you start saying it now. It's like, I'm paying this credit card off. And what happens is that as you say that, okay, and you then add some action to it. See, the way that you reinforce your words is through action, right? So you say, I'm paying this credit card off, and then you immediately send $25 to the credit card company. Now you might owe 5,000. So that $25, it's not going to really move the needle in, a literal sense, but you're building momentum within yourself. And you're saying, I'm paying this credit card off, and then you send $25. And then you just keep saying it. And then what happens is that, you start getting some money that you weren't expecting, right? You might get a tax return. You might get a refund on something. Your aunt who hasn't seen you in forever might give you $100, right? And then, okay, I'm going to send 50 to the credit card company, and I'm going to spend the other 50 on what I want, right? Or, you might get a raise at your job. You might get something, just whatever is unexpected. And you just start paying it down. But you have to keep saying it, right? So what I do is that I have a list of things that I say in the morning before I really get going in life, in whatever I need to do. There's the things that I say every morning. I say it. Why? And again, it's important to say it because this is the law that you live by, right? Your self-talk is the law that you live by, right? And if you don't have any self-talk, you don't have a law. And where there's lawlessness, there's chaos, okay? So it's important that you speak what you want to see and what you want to live in your life every single day, because that's the law that you live by, okay? It's very important. So I'm paying this credit card off. I just keep saying it. I keep saying it. I'm paying my credit card off. I'm paying my credit card off. I am paying my credit card off. And so you just keep saying it, keep saying it. And when you say it like that, it's a lot easier for the mind to accept it because, remember, you sent $25, so you're not lying. You are paying it off. Even if you send $5, you're not lying. You're still paying it off, right? So there's a minister, Creflo Dollar, a little controversial, but, I like him enough. It seems like he's a positive guy, does a lot of good things. I don't agree with 100% what he does, but I don't agree with 100% anyone does, really, right? But, whatever. It was actually his wife who said it. She said that when you're not creating something, when you're not saying anything, you're not creating anything. So I've always, held on to that, and it makes a lot of sense. When you say things, you're creating it in your life, right? You're creating, when you say, my health is improving, right? Something as simple as that, my health is improving. And you might have gotten the worst diagnosis in the world. You might have gotten the worst news from the doctor in the world, right? But when you start saying my health is improving, there's something that happens within yourself, right? Not only does your body respond to it, but your mind starts making different decisions based upon this law, okay? If you were going down the street and you saw, maybe you were going 40 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone. I'm not going to tell anyone, okay? But you were going 40 miles an hour in a 25-mile-an-hour zone, okay, you are speeding. You are breaking the law, right? But when you see a cop on the side of the road, what do? You slow down. Why do you slow down? Because it's a reminder of the law, right? The law is, hey, I'm going too fast. The law says I'm going too fast because there's a speed limit of 25 miles an hour, but I'm going 40, okay? So that law, that cop reminds me of the law. And the same thing is with your self-talk. That self-talk reminds you of the law that's over your life, okay? There are certain people who they have a higher self-talk than most people in the world. The average person's self-talk is beneath high performers. High performers have elite self-talk. They say that I am the best in the world at what I do. I am at the top of my profession. I am the best in this industry. I am, a multi-million-dollar earning salesperson. I am they have a self-talk that is elite. Now, if you're not elite, if you're in, say, like the bottom 10 or 20% of performance, right? If you're not performing at the level that you want to be performing at, when you say that you're a top 10% earner or a top 10% performer, sometimes the mind may have a problem with that because the mind is saying, no, you're not. You're not anywhere near that. Okay? What you do say instead of that is that my performance is improving. My performance is improving. My sales are improving. My sales are improving. My followers are getting, larger. You start saying things like that, right? That self-talk. And what that self-talk is going to do, when you improve your self-talk, you're basically setting a higher bar for yourself, and the mind starts figuring out ways to meet that bar, and you raise up every level of your life through your self-talk. You start making different decisions, right? When you decide that you're going to be in the top 10% of your sales organization, you start staying up a little bit later, reading. You start working on your close. You start working on your presentation. You start working on your, overcoming objections and everything else. You start working on your craft, and you start improving your craft because you said, hey, my performance is improving. My sales are improving, right? Self-talk, so important. What you say, speaking into existence. All these things are very important. So why don't you try that? Pick one area of your life that you want to improve, that you want to get better in, and then start saying, I'm getting better here, right? My health is improving. My credit is improving, right? I'm saving more money and not touching it. My investments are improving. I'm investing more money this year than I did last year, this month than I did last month. Start speaking it into existence, and then watch everything else start coming in line with what you speak. So I went a little bit over today, but I hope you got something out of it. My name is Martin Williams. Again, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. You can do so at Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Soundcloud, and I will talk to you soon. Don't forget to subscribe to the Under Construction podcast on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and SoundCloud. For more information on Guided Expressions courses and products, go to guidedexpressions.com/products.